Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with number 2 in our series of fabulous concert programs that you can listen to at home because you'll never see them live. Who are we kidding? And the idea behind this first 6 is to find ways to present a Carl Nielsen cycle in a way that will keep people in their chairs through the entire Carl Nielsen cycle, which is not exactly, an easy thing to do with people. Although, I think it's exaggerated, the idea that, when the unusual work comes in, everybody just runs away. I mean, I guess it depends on where you are. But in my experience, going to concerts for decades and decades, mostly in New York and its environs, but also internationally all over the place, I never saw people just disappear because a contemporary novelty or a lesser-known work was on the program. It just didn't happen. I mean, audiences pay their money. They pay to sit there. I've seen in the comments already from the first of these, oh, well, no one's going to sit there for the second half. That's bullshit. Sure, a few people may go. Sometimes I've walked out if the concert was horrible. I mean, if it's bad, why would anyone sit around? But in general, my experience with live audiences is that they're rather receptive. They're open to whatever the artists want to do, and they're willing to sit and listen for a couple hours and see whether they like it or not. And usually they give everyone a standing ovation no matter what they do. So, all this business about speculation about keeping people in their seats and all that, I find to be so much nonsense and just hot air. But it does make sense, I think, to program these things in a way that will allow people to hear them in a fresh way, in a nice context, in a way that makes the experience as rewarding as possible. And that's what I'm trying to get to. I mean, yes, I want to do this in a way that encourages people to stick around or doesn't give them a choice, which is often the way you do these things. But more than that, the concert itself has to make sense. It has to be a rewarding collection of musical things for whatever reason, whether it's the performers or whether it's the style or the aesthetic or the contrast between the works. There's got to be a reason for it. And this number 2 features, of course, Carl Nielsen's Symphony number 2, the 4 Temperaments, which is marvelous work. It has it's choleric, and it's phlegmatic, and it's melancholic, and it's sanguine. The 4 movements, they were based on sketches or wood prints that are of some kind that were sitting in a pub that Nielsen saw, and he wrote a symphony about it. And oh my goodness, it's so exciting, and we're really getting to the point in these symphonies where we're running into the mature Nielsen. He's around the turn of the 20th century. A little bit later, when the second symphony pops out, it's still a little bit conservative, still on the Beethoven, Brahms, spectrum, but it has a muscularity and an excitement and a propulsion and an emotional directness, which is absolutely Carl Nielsen. Not to mention, he had a very characteristic melodic style, fructified by his encounter with Danish folk music, I gather. But his melodies all sound like Nielsen, no matter what they are. Once you get that style in your head, you don't have to define it verbally. You just hear it and you know that it's got to be Nielsen. And this symphony is full of tunes like that. I mean, the second movement, the phlegmatic intermezzo scherzo type thing, it has this wonderful tune that goes. I mean, that second limb, it couldn't be anyone but Nielsen. It's really splendid. So anyway, the second symphony, it's only about half an hour long. It's going to be a crowd pleaser. It really is. You just have to get them to listen to it. So how do we get them to listen to it? Well, first of all, you hire a top-notch soprano. That's the key. And for the program, we do first, as an overture, Sibelius's tone poem Luonnotar, which brings your top-notch soprano right out to do a very unusual work. I mean, it's the Kalevala creation myth. As a tone poem, it's only 9 minutes long. It's incredibly moody and atmospheric and primal sounding. And it's also Scandinavian, and Nielsen and Sibelius were friends, more or less, or acquaintances. So you're starting out with a quasi-theme, that is, a Scandinavian first half with a major artist. And you launch into Luonnotar, which is gorgeous. It's got harps and 2 sets of timpani, and it's just yummy. And then you do the Nielsen 2. After the Nielsen 2, you have an intermission, which makes everybody's very happy and up because, Nielsen's symphonies are so uplifting. They really, really are. I mean, you go out feeling terrific. You get your orange juice and your cough drop or whatever you're doing out there, and you come back. And then the second half is a Richard Strauss program. The 4 last songs with your crack soprano, which is just terrific. You could get Soili Isakowski because she was the sort of inspiration for this, because she sings Luonnotar and she sings the 4 last songs. So did Elizabeth Schwarzkopf, but she didn't record Luonnotar, Anyway, so you've got somebody who can do them both, and they exist. Some of these marvelous Scandinavian singers will do it, and they have a reputation, and people will come out to hear them. And then, after the 4 last songs, you wrap things up with Strauss's Macbeth, which nobody plays. It's his first big tone poem. The one movement kind, not like Aus Italien, which is a 4 movement sort of tone poem / suite. But no, Macbeth. No one does it. I don't know why. But there are very few Richard Strauss tone poems that you could put on the second half that aren't extremely long and that end with a bang. There's Till Eulenspiegel, which we've all heard a billion times, in which I think Till Eulenspiegel coming after the 4 last songs would be, it wouldn't go. Because the 4 last songs are so beautiful and so autumnal and so lyrical, and then you have this sarcastic, twitchy kind of parodistic work, and I don't think that they would go very well. It's chocolate sauce on the asparagus kind of thing. You know what I mean? But Macbeth is dark and dramatic and somewhat gloomy, but it works with the 4 last songs, and it ends with a bang. But it has that tragic final collapse. It has the same emotional ambience, but in a purely orchestral work. It's about 20 minutes long. It's exciting as hell. And the other wonderful thing about it is that it gives a sort of perspective on Strauss's career from his earliest maturity, because Macbeth is his first tone poem, to the 4 last songs, which obviously are last. And so you've got an overreaching sort of arc in which you have Strauss's career. And in the meantime, you've managed to slide Nielsen's second in there, and you're going to have a very, very, very happy audience. I don't see many people running away after the 4 last songs because they don't want to sit around for 20 more minutes to hear Macbeth. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And it's really, I think, a terrific program in which to present these works with your Scandinavian first half, your Straussian second half, linked by the virtuoso soprano that you've hired for the occasion, and you get your Nielsen Second Symphony to get people all peppy and excited or dashing off to the bathroom after the first half. What could be better, really? So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me for this new series of fabulous concert programs, which you can play at home or which you can listen to maybe some form live, maybe. Oh, never mind. That's never happening, as I said before. Take care.